Okay, so in this lesson we're going to set up some controls. I'm going to use just curves for simplicity. If I do F8 here, it goes into my component mode. Oops. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. I'm just going to give it a unique shape. This is going to be our master control. And with the master control, basically what we're going to do is just parent all the controls to this. So all the character joints are going to, or not joints, but controls are going to be parented to this. And it'll be a global move for everything. And also we'll put any extra attributes that we want on there as well. So let's name this C underscore master underscore CTRL. And this is going to be, C is for center, and then master is the master control where all the other controls are parented to, and then control because it is control. And let's group this and name it controls and put it into the character group so that way it's a little bit more organized. Then we need to create a set of controls for the shoulder, elbow, and wrist. So let's do that right now. I'm gonna create one for the shoulder first. And I want it to be lined up exactly with this joint. So with it selected, I'm going to select the shoulder joint and push P to parent. And then I'm going to zero out the translations and the rotations for the control. When I do that, it lines it up exactly with the joint. Can rotate and go to 90 degrees. So it's lined up. All I need to do is unparent it now. And let's rename this. This is going to be L underscore shoulder underscore CTRL. There's going to be a problem with the way that this is set up. So what happens is that if we go in and let me move this over here so that we can see it happening. Currently the control is exactly lined up to this joint, which is what we want, but we also want this to be all zeroed out. So if we freeze transformation, it shifts. So what we need to do is figure out a way to get this to be all with the freeze transformations, but we want it to be oriented with the joint. So what we can do is, with nothing selected, create a group that's going to create what is called a null node, which is basically a group with nothing in it. And what I want it to be called is the same thing as the control, and I'm going to call this 0 at the end. And that's going to zero out the translations and rotations so that it's exactly the way we want it. And I'm going to do the same thing we did with the other control. Basically shift click onto the joint, parent it, zero out the controls. But this time, when I unparent it, I'm not going to freeze transformations. I'm going to duplicate this, and this is going to be our offset. Let's call this grp underscore offset. And I'm going to add a grp for group so that way we know it's a group. Let's do G. There we go. And then I'm going to parent this under that, and I'm going to parent the control to the offset. So when I select this, we can see that it is got this offset going on. But what I can do now is do freeze transformations again, and you'll see that it actually lines up with the joint now because we have this 0 group, and everything else is zeroed, which is perfect. So now when we rotate, it will be exactly lined up to the control, or to the joint. So we're going to do that 2 more times. I'm going to create a control, parent it to that joint, 0 out, rotate 90 degrees, and unparent it. I'm going to duplicate it and parent it here, 0 out, unparent it, and let's name both of these. So I'm going to steal the name from this one, paste it. This is going to be elbow. And this is going to be wrist. So now we need to create the null nodes. Underscore grp underscore 0 and do the parenting. There, and then unparent, duplicate that, put it in there, and this one is not going to be called 0, but it's going to be our offset. And then put the elbow control there. So let's check the elbow control. We just need to freeze transformations. And we're set. Let's check this node. That's good. Perfect. One more. Underscore grp underscore 0 parent 0 out unparent, duplicate. This one's going to be called offset. Parent it here. This one should be zeroed out, perfect. And then we just take the wrist and put it into that group and freeze transformations. Awesome, they are all set the way we want them to be. Now we need to set up the parenting to work the way we want it, because when we rotate this control, we want it to rotate the other, or move the other controls with it. And same thing with this one. This one's going to move that one. So let's start off with taking the wrist 0 group and parent it to the elbow control. So when we select the elbow control, it will move that with it. And then do the same thing with the elbow, but to the shoulder. There we go. Now we need to do orient constraints for each one of these controls so that they control their appropriate joint. So let's go to constraint, orient, let's look at the option box. Should work with maintain offsets, but I'm going to freeze this just in case. So I'm going to say this is the object that is going to be the target. The object to be controlled is that skeleton joint, and I want to make sure that I am controlling all axes, and click add, target, object to be controlled, just pushing G to repeat the action. Target, object to be controlled, G, perfect. So now when I move this, it does all my FK controls the way I want them to. Perfect. Gonna take this and make sure it's parented under the master control. The master control, we could set up a 0 and everything else for it, but it's right at the origin. So I'm not going to worry about it, but if you want to, you can. It's pretty easy because it's already at the origin. I'll just do it. So I'm just going to group it twice, take these names, and everything is frozen already, so it's going to be underscore grp, underscore offset, and this one's going to be, oops, the 0. There we go. So that is it for setting up the FK control. So we got the skeleton being controlled by these controls. Perfect. So we'll see you in the next lesson.